If you're hearing this, you're listening to the free version of our members-only podcast. Normally, these episodes are shortened, with the full content being available via our Patreon. However, on occasion, we feel that the subject matter carries an important message for all to hear, and so leave the free version unaltered from our members-only equivalent. That is the case here, so please enjoy, and if you want to hear more podcasts in full or access our exclusive videos, consider checking out our Patreon page. Welcome to the Above Average podcast with me, Mark Lewis. On today's episode, I speak with Stuart Chorley, who at the age of 70 competed at Hyrox Glasgow last week. Among other things, we speak about maintaining the enthusiasm to train and exercise when your personal bests are behind you, the difference between fixating on goals and targets instead of just enjoying the journey, and find out exactly how Stuart got on up in Glasgow. Okay, Stuart Chorley, welcome to the Above Average podcast.
Thanks a lot. It's good to speak to you.
Let me explain to the listeners why I thought you might be a guy worth talking with. So I was on the Hyrox forum Facebook group, and I noticed that you posted up on there how you'd done Hyrox up in Glasgow and had a good time and enjoyed it. And what stood out as interesting was that you are older than average. Is that the polite way of...
I think that's a fair one, yeah.
So you are 70 years of age. So that makes you what, born 1952?
52, July 52, yeah.
Okay, so I like, as I get older, I'm 49 now, 50 this year, so I like to place myself kind of in moments of history to emphasize to younger people how old I am. So for example, when I explain to my kids that I was, I don't know, running around like a little kid in the 80s, it kind of gives them some sort of idea that I'm really old. I guess you kind of grew up on the Beatles. Would that be a...
Well, funny enough, yeah, they were always a favourite band of mine.
That's useful for kind of placing you. For people that have grown up on, I don't know what people listen to now, Kanye West and S Club 7. The idea that you were bopping about to the Beatles. I was going to name the Beatles, but I realised that off the top of my head, I'd get as far as Paul McCartney and then run out.
What, really?
Actually, no. In fact, let me do it properly, because otherwise people are going to think I'm an idiot. John Lennon, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there's now half the population are now very happy that I remembered them, and the other half have no idea who I'm talking about whatsoever.
Shame on them.
Indeed, if I said to my kids Ringo Starr, that would mean that they think that was some sort of sports drink or something. Right. So you're 70 and you did Hyrox, and now this is interesting because you won your age group, and when you put on there you won your age group, you put little smiley face emoji and said I was the only one in it. When I saw that, the first thing I thought was you should delete that smiley face, because you did win your age group legitimately. The reason you're the only one in it is because most 70-year-olds aren't able to go and do a Hyrox. It's not as though other 70-year-olds are all out there doing CrossFit and obstacle course racing that weekend. They were all busy. They just aren't able to go and do what you did. So the fact that you're the only one there is no... that's no mean feat. You legitimately won your age group. If you're the only one that can turn up, that is a heck of a thing.
I was actually quite surprised that I thought there would be more. It didn't even occur to me that I'd be the oldest competitor there at all. I thought there would be more people of my age, just as a kind of norm.
I was surprised actually, because looking through the results, not only were you the oldest in there on the day, and the only one in your age group, there was nobody in the age group below you either.
Is that right? Yeah.
You had to come down to the people that were up to the age of 64. So there was a couple of guys racing there, but there was nobody between 65 and basically nobody from 65 upwards. And I was actually quite surprised. I thought there would be more people. As somebody who is almost 50, the idea of only 15 years away doesn't seem very far to me. And I would love to still be running around and racing. So I was a bit disappointed there weren't more people doing what you did, really.
Yeah, it did surprise me, I must say, that there weren't sort of more an older group. I mean, when we first went in there, I found the whole atmosphere a bit intimidating, actually. I found it a bit, I thought, oh, I started to get sort of nervous, and this was like 2 hours before our start wave. But the same thing, actually, a bit later on, was the reason that it kind of helped me, the same reasons for feeling a bit nervous actually helped me through a bit later on.
it'll be interesting to chat about how you found that kind of that vibe, if that's the right
Yeah,
word.
yeah.
I sometimes feel a bit old for all the loud music. So yeah, it'd be interesting to talk about that. So let's start off with where you're at the moment. So what's your actually something that we should start off with. You also mentioned that Facebook post that you put up that your health is not at the moment kind of peak for you. You had am I right, atrial fibrillation? Is that
That's correct. Yeah, still have. It's an ongoing thing.
And for people that haven't watched enough episodes of Casualty, that that means what exactly?
It means, I mean, there are several types of atrial fibrillation, but the type I've got means that my heart rate is irregular. To be honest, I would never really know any difference, but as soon as I start exercising, I get more out of breath a lot quicker and a lot easier. And therefore, especially with something like Hyrox training or, or doing the event, obviously, I just need to have a rest, and get my breath back. My body's telling me to behave, and
So you can't. I mean, these are daft questions probably, but you can't tell that you have an irregular heartbeat when you just kind of sat still. It's not as though you can sort of feel your heart going boom, 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 boom.
no. Sometimes of AF they do, they have palpitations, and that sounds horrible. I think if anything, out of all the different types of AF, I've got the better one, if there is such a thing.
Although yours is an interesting one, because obviously if yours only comes on when you sort of push yourself, it's interesting in the sense that you then decide to go out and run around Hyrox.
Yeah, well, people will say, "Well, don't push yourself, then you fool,"
Yeah.
But no, I obviously I took some medical advice on it. I spoke to a face-to-face cardiologist when it first reappeared, and my wife was obviously quite concerned, and she said, "Go on, tell him what you want to do, this Hyrox business." So he said, "Give us a potted version." So I explained very briefly what Hyrox was, and he said, "Okay." He said, "Look, one of you isn't going to like this answer." He said, "Absolutely and definitely go ahead with it." And my poor wife's jaw dropped, of course, and I thought, yeah, he said, "There's no reason why not." He said, "You're not going to hurt yourself. Your body will tell you when you need to rest. So it's not like I have to keep a constant eye on a heart monitor or whatever."
I was going to say you don't. So when you're exercising just routinely, when you're training, you're not monitoring your heart in any kind of.
Well, no, I use a MyZone kind of thing, but of course you haven't got a live numerical readout. It's just the red zone, the green zone, whatever. So I knew that, but of course that I don't find that with me 100% accurate. So I didn't want to get too obsessed with heart rate stuff. I thought I'll know when I'll feel I'll need a rest, and that was the case on Saturday.
That's interesting. I mean, you'd think nowadays that they'd kind of stick some sort of device on you that beeped or something because obviously the technology's there to do that. But your cardiologist just says no, go for it and crack on.
I thought, well, okay, this guy hopefully knows what he's talking about, and I'll listen to the experts. And obviously it was good news to me. But fair play. If he'd have said, "Look, I wouldn't really advise that," then I wouldn't have been there on Saturday, and I would have just gone a bit more careful and waited till I go through the next stage of this journey, which is called the cardio version, where they kind of reboot your heart.
Which, because we chatted yesterday, you've had that done before, haven't you?
Yeah, I had it done before about 3 years ago. It first all kicked off, and the symptoms for me, say about 3 years ago, I started to get, well, over the course of a couple of weeks, started to get a bit having dizzy spells, starting to get a bit woozy. Maybe if I was just out walking the dogs, for instance. So I started kind of checking it again, and my resting heart rate was away up at 80 odd, so almost doubling.
Yeah.
Got it checked out. Yes, you've got AF, which I now know a little bit more about. And this is what we do. So about 6 months later, I had this cardio version.
And the process, we should say, the process to get you back into that normal rhythm is effectively to knock you out with a general, and then electric shock your heart.
Put the paddles on you, yeah, I believe so, yeah. So they'll do that. They do that 3 times. If it doesn't work the first time, they'll do it a maximum of 3 times. And if that doesn't work, they wake you up and say, "Okay, sorry, sir, it didn't work. Well, we need to try something else." I was told that it worked first time, And I thought, oh, brilliant. So, I sat in recovery for a couple of hours, went home, and I was out running the next day, well, jogging. Again, under the advice of
Yeah.
the expert. And then I started getting symptoms again about 3 to 4 weeks ago. Went in, got hooked up to ECGs for a couple of nights, and so on. So that's where I am now, really.
I mean, on the one hand, it's incredible that they can stop your heart and then kind of, I mean, literally, it's like...
I'm not really sure if they actually stop it. They probably do it in between the irregular beats, but I don't know. Whatever happens,
It's like leaving the TV running, but just smack it on the back and see if the picture sharpens up.
Yeah, but and sometimes it doesn't. It's like the same thing with your laptop, but and it'll come back in, but by the same token, you don't know how long it's going to last until it does it again.
I can just imagine the surgeons, it not working, so they call in some bloke from IT who just kind of comes in and smacks you around the head.
That's right, gives it a kick, yeah.
It's incredible that the technology exists to be able to do that. It also kind of highlights how, I want to say fragile, but obviously not fragile because we live for, as you're demonstrating, many years. I mean, you're relying obviously on these little electrical stimulations coming thousands of times a day to tell your heart beat again. If anything kind of prompts you to think, wow, look after your health and fitness, it's going through something like that. I mean, I love the idea that the next day you're out for a jog.
I think the old thing about listen to your body, and that's why I was quite happy to continue with some more dynamic exercises, because I just thought I'll know if it's going to hurt me or not.
Yeah, and one of the things that happens that I've found as you get older, you get far better at listening to your body, and
yeah, you do, yeah.
And also not just listening to your body, but I found better at ignoring when your ego is trying to sort of tell you nonsense.
So that's the thing, yeah. The ego side of it, you need to ignore all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you ignore that, then it becomes far easier to listen to what your body's actually saying, because your ego drowns it out quite easily when you're young and stupid. And so what's a training, forget Hyrox for a second, what's your kind of training routine? What's a week look like for you normally?
I don't know if you would call it training. I do something most days, but if I feel like a day off, I will. It doesn't have to be a Sunday or anything. I'm a member of a CrossFit gym 3 times a week, so I'll do that, and it's an hour's class. On the other days, I mean, sometimes I might play a bit of badminton or something, on the same evening, or a spinning class perhaps on the weekend. I'll try and get a couple of runs in here and there, but I'm not really so. I don't have a particular schedule. I don't stick to anything. I just do what I feel like.
But it sounds like then that a week doesn't normally go by without you doing a few different bits and pieces.
It's never happened for years, really, unless I've been particularly ill or. No. It's just that it just seems the norm for me to do something, and I'm quite happy about that. I quite enjoy doing it. So it's not a chore,
Which is interesting, because when we spoke yesterday to settle this up, you mentioned that you just enjoy training. You just enjoy going and doing what you're describing, that kind of haphazard, but not in a negative way. That just sort of what I feel like doing today, and you just enjoy going off and doing that. And what's interesting, I've said on the YouTube channel lots of times that if you have good habits, then you almost don't need goals and targets, because the good habits are enough on their own. But if you have goals and targets, but you don't have good habits, then the goals and targets are pointless to even have.
Yeah,
so
indeed.
If you can just enjoy what you're doing, I mean, that's absolutely the best place to be. There's a real push at the moment on social media with things like TikTok and Instagram and so on, where there's almost an attitude that training needs to be horrible, that there's this kind of perception that if you aren't coming out of the gym feeling that you've had to sort of endure something horrific, then it wasn't even worth going. And
you've not tried hard enough unless you're spewing when you finish it.
Absolutely. And I just kind of spend my whole time thinking, what nonsense. Why would you want to do something so unpleasant? So it's quite nice to meet someone that is clearly evidence that just plodding along, regularly doing what you enjoy doing is fine. You don't need to sort of brutalize yourself
I think
every day.
I think it's a matter of, I've been lucky in the general sort of decent health, and which has allowed me to be able to do that, and to enjoy the benefits of feeling physically fit. It helps with my mental sort of side of it, sharpness as well. If
Yes,
I haven't
yes.
done anything for a few days, I feel a bit kind of mentally a bit more sluggish, and to keep on top of all that, it's definitely a mental gain also.
No, it's nice to hear. I trained legs this morning, and before I went to the gym, coincidentally, I saw someone I follow on Instagram talking about training legs and was basically saying if you walk out the gym, or if you can walk out the gym, you kind of haven't trained legs hard enough. And I walked out of my gym perfectly fine today, having trained legs. And I thought, well, the idea that you need to sort of crawl out, especially if you then got to go back to work. And
Yeah,
I'm quite lucky; I could crawl home, I suppose. If I had a 9 to 5, the idea of crawling back into my office.
yeah, it's not it's not the best, is it? It's interesting you say, I did a kind of leg day this morning. I've never really, I mean, I get it, that you need to kind of target different areas of your body, but I don't think I've ever gone in to a gym and said, right, I'm going to do my legs today, or my, my back or whatever. That's just not my kind of training. I'm not knocking it, by the way.
No, although no, I'll knock it for you. Don't worry, I don't care. It's interesting because I used to do exactly that. I mean that's and again this is a slightly a kind of the era in which I grew up training. So when I first started getting into exercising in my early teens in the 80s, that sort of that idea of doing a body part one day and another body part the next, which had kind of come over from the popularity of really, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the reason why all that exists.
Yeah.
So in the 80s, every, like me, 14-year-old wanted to be Arnold, and so you trained arms all day, and then you trained chest the next day, and so on. So that kind of bro split, as it's referred to. And what's been really nice about me getting into Hyrox is this idea that I go to the gym. So I said I did legs today. I also did some upper body stuff as well, because obviously, as you know, for Hyrox, you need to be able to be able to do anything and everything.
Yeah,
You can't say, well, I can't do the sled push because it involves my upper body, and I'd rather just focus on my legs today. It's a hybrid activity. I mean, hybrid, and again, we're using these kind of modern terms. Hybrid activity. It's what you'd have just called just training, just exercising. It's just exercise.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, what you're talking about is just exercise. Yeah, no, it's very interesting, and I found it to be a far nicer way to train, that you leave the gym feeling just all over exercised, rather than just leaving the gym thinking I can't feel my arms anymore, but everything else feels okay. But again, that is the norm for youngsters to train that way.
I just like the kind of end result. I think the word is virtuous. You've done something.
Yes.
You could go about the rest of your day or the rest of your week, and no one else would know what you've just done.
Yeah.
And that's fine with me.
Wise words. Actually, I was going to say, in terms of training and exercising, and you sound like you don't give a huge focus to things like your personal bests and how heavy you've lifted or how fast those don't seem to be things that you dwell on really, or even take much notice of.
No, I couldn't really tell you I don't think I've ever run a proper 10K race, for instance. Maybe one or two little gala events, I suppose, back in the day. Done a few half marathons, so I know my time's there, but I wouldn't necessarily go out on my third or fourth half marathon and think, right, I've got to beat 140 or something today, or I'm a dead man. I'd just go out and enjoy the day. I'm not bothered. I'd rather just enjoy the occasion, enjoy the exercise.
It's such an important message to hear. This idea that, as you're describing, you can simply just enjoy the process, rather than that there's a real fixation on the training. In fact, actually, this kind of loops back to what I was just saying about training not being enjoyable, and it needs to be this kind of horrible thing you go through, because actually a lot of people aren't training to train, they're training because of what it then gives them, whether it's a PB or in the case of lots of youngsters nowadays, a body type.
Yeah.
That is what they want. The training isn't what they want. It's just what they have to do to get that.
To get to a certain stage, yeah.
Absolutely. Whereas for you, the training is what you want to do. You want to be doing the training, and it's which obviously creates a far more enjoyable way of training because you're actually enjoying it. It's a bit like I was going to say it's like going on holiday, and some people are just fixated on the holiday. You're kind of loving the travel to the holiday too,
Yeah,
which
that's a fair one,
kind of doubles up the enjoyment of it. I mean, it just makes so much sense.
To me, I've never really, I haven't consciously thought, I must just try and beat this time or beat this distance or whatever, because I just think, well, supposing you do, who cares? Apart from yourself, nobody cares really. You could go into the pub. I mean, you wouldn't want to go into the pub and the first thing you'd say is, well, guess what? I did a 40-minute or a 30-minute 10K this morning or something. Nobody's interested. So keep it to yourself. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I do get the fact that the folk want to improve and better themselves. But, to me, I think you summed it up quite well. The journey itself is more of a big deal to me.
Yeah, no, it's a refreshing thing because you say nobody would go in the pub and say, look at my PB. That is literally what happens. Not the pub, but what's happened is that Instagram and TikTok have become the sort of social media version of the pub, but it's now a pub that's got 8 billion people in it.
Yeah.
So people do go on there and say, I did this, I did that, and it's all about the result. It's not about, as you say, for many people at least, it's not about the journey or the journey. When it is about the journey's not the fun bit. The journey is just you kind of look at what I did to myself, look at what I went through to get to wherever.
Yeah.
And it's a bit, it's like going to, I don't know, the Maldives on holiday and swimming there and going, look at what I had to endure. I had to swim. You should have taken a really nice, plane journey and looked out the window the whole time and actually enjoyed that as well. Flown first class. What are you doing swimming, you idiot?
Yeah, some people just don't get it, though, do they? I mean, a couple of years ago, I decided to do this charity thing. The British Heart Foundation organised, I think they still do, a walk from Glasgow to Edinburgh along the tow path of the Union Canal. So it's pretty flat, but they round it up to 100k. I was telling my brother about it, and he went, "You're going to walk 100k? Why?" I said, "I don't know. I want to challenge myself." But he just didn't get the concept of putting your body through that kind of pain.
I've done a couple of 100Ks, and it is whether you walk it, run it, do what you like. It is no joke.
Yeah. Oh, I certainly just walked it, but it was continuous. It was about 26 hours or something for me.
Well, it's interesting you say that because we'll talk about this when we get on to Hyrox. But when I did my 100K, I jogged it and walked it, and I did it in, I forget actually, maybe 16, 17 hours. So you say, I just walked it, but you're doing it for 10 hours more than me.
Yeah.
So I'm at home in bed recovering. You're still out there. I mean, yeah, we're going to come on to this on Hyrox because I find it fascinating that anybody can think that someone going at the slower end is in somehow getting an easier deal of it when actually it's completely the reverse many times.
Hard work. Yeah.
Okay, so actually, I know what I was going to ask you. This is an interesting one because I get emails on this subject quite a bit. I think I know how to answer them, but it'd be interesting. You kind of already have. This is the email that I get a lot from people. It's people saying, I am now in my 30s, 40s, or 50s, and I can't do what I used to be able to do. So let's say I used to be able to do, I don't know. I had an email actually from a guy recently that was a rower, and I row a little bit. And he was saying, I can't do the rows that I did when I was 18, 19. And I said, no, dude, nor can I. And he said, how do you come to terms with that? I said, what do you mean, I almost didn't understand the question. I said, what do you mean, how do you come to terms with that? I just do. The same way that I don't look 19 anymore.
Yeah, you can't expect yourself to.
No, but what's interesting is I sometimes wondered if the reason that I'm so relaxed about not being able to do things that I could do when I was 19 is that there are still some things at my age that I am improving on. So I do have some things that I will still get better at. And I've always kind of told myself it would probably be mid-50s where that stops. And as I move towards late 50s, there'll be very, very little that I ever get to get better at. Everything that I've done will be from there. It'll be, I've peaked at everything. I haven't quite done that yet. But I guess at 70, you have in a sense peaked at everything, but completely relaxed about it. Just, I mean, which is amazing if that's the case. You just because the answer to those people saying to me, "How do you come to terms with it?" is just get a grip, grow up, and do so.
Yeah, I don't think there's any point in. I mean, I was a bit like that at one point. I used to think, oh God, I used to run 7-minute miles for a half marathon or something. There's no point competing against yourself. For me, there's no point trying to compete with figures from 20, 30 years ago. What's the point? It's just never going to happen. But yeah, the bad news, for folk is that it does come to whatever level of sportsman you are, it does come to an end, and you just have to get your head around that. And once you do, you'll enjoy your exercise a lot more for it.
Yeah, because interestingly, the things that and rowing is a good example because I will never row as fast as I used to row. I'm okay, but I'll never be as quick. And so I've become very relaxed about rowing. People say to me, "Oh, you should enter the World Championships and all this." No, I really just don't. I like it. I don't mind. I'll row. I use it for exercise. But I've kind of just not given up's the wrong word because it kind of sounds negative. I just don't mind anymore how fast I'm going relative to what I used to do. I just have come to terms with it. So it's interesting to hear that, that you can kind of just find peace with that. And just, it does always puzzle me when people get very het up about not being as good as they once were. I think that must just be a very depressing way.
It just doesn't make sense to worry about it. That's all in the past. As you age, your body's bound to kind of shut down a bit, and how on earth can you, it's just the kind of the physics of it, I suppose, how on earth can you expect to maintain a high level? It's just never going to happen.
Actually, this will be interesting. Before we start talking about Hyrox, which I want to get onto, as I'm getting towards 50, it's dawned on me, probably in the last 3 or 4 years, that actually at some point in the future, I'll be, laying on my deathbed at, let's say, 99, 100 maybe. And actually, when I look back, the things that will be important to me and the things that will have been kind of logged in my brain are things like places I've been, things I've seen, who I was there with. It'll be those sort of things. It won't be the time I got in the Reading Half Marathon in 2018.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
And it just becomes, you start to realise how those things at the time seem to be literally the be-all and the end-all. And actually, the Hyrox group, or the Hyrox Facebook group, is a little bit like this. I was going to say it suffers from this, but it's every group, every sports group is a bit like this. People get very, very into what they're doing, and they get very upset if illness or something gets in the way, and it just does become their kind of be all and end all. And it's important to sometimes stop and think and actually remember that, at some point when all is kind of said and done, what your brain logs as being the important things you got up to while you were on Earth, actually Hyrox won't be one of them.
Yeah.
It just won't. And actually, if I was on my deathbed at 100 and thought, well, that Hyrox event was the thing I'm going to take with me, I'd feel like I'd completely wasted my 100 years.
Unless you'd done it 2 days before.
Well, indeed, if it was fresh in my memory, absolutely. If I did Hyrox at 99 and then died from it, it would be logged in there. But otherwise, I'm going to say probably the cool things I've seen and the cool people I've been there with at the time and so on, and not.
Yeah, they should quite rightly take priority. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk. So let's talk about Hyrox then. So this was your first Hyrox?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So how much preparation did you have, or did you even need it? Had you done all the exercises before in CrossFit?
Yeah, I'd probably covered most of the exercises before in CrossFit. Don't forget that the CrossFit gym we go to, I attend this masters class, as in a seniors class, not masters exactly.
Is that less handstand walking and stuff and kipping pull-ups?
See, I've never done a handstand walk. I couldn't do one. that's the point. So it's all scaled down for us. So
Everyone keeps their shirts on in that
oh
class.
God, yeah, especially me, yeah. So I was aware of all the exercises, but actually that was one of the things that attracted me to Hyrox. The fact that it didn't involve lifting heavy barbells
Yes.
or any technical gymnastic stuff, which I wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
And so I thought,
Yeah.
yeah, Hyrox is for me. I think it's quite doable for for a lot of the fellas my age.
Yeah. The barrier to entry is much, much lower than it is for CrossFit.
Definitely. So I didn't really do much preparation. I mean, I didn't shut up talking about it for about 3 months, and with the other two guys that were interested in going up to Glasgow with me, we did a few sessions on our own and concentrated on the sled push or whatever, or the pool, trying to do some wall balls and stuff. So there was a bit more of that, but I wouldn't say that I thought, let's try and get fit. In fact, about 5 or 6 weeks ago, one of the other guys said, we've got 5 more weeks to get fit, and I said, look, I wish it was tomorrow, because I don't think we're going to get any fitter. I'm not saying that we were optimally fit then. I just thought all we need to do is just stay out of trouble. The main thing is trying to get to the start line of anything in good nick, without any
Yes,
kind of niggles.
absolutely.
And obviously,
Yeah.
as you get a bit older, that becomes a bit of a harder task. So I wouldn't say we specifically trained. We just kind of kept it ticking over.
What a great reflection of your existing level of fitness, that you can just roll off your existing training and just go and do a Hyrox.
Well, it didn't quite. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute or two, I guess. But it wasn't an easy task for me. I didn't think it was going to be easy, but it was a damn sight harder than I thought it was going to be. Every single event, actually.
It is interesting, because the difference between someone that's just average and someone that's slower than average sometimes looks a lot. It looks as though you're a long way behind those average, the bulk of the competitors. But actually, it only takes a couple of minutes on each station, which in isolation isn't a lot, and suddenly you're there. So the difference between somebody running a 1 hour 40, and someone doing what you did, a 2 hour 16, am I right? I think it was 2 hours 16.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, a bit more.
Yeah, it's literally just a couple of minutes on each station. I've got to be honest, if I got to the sled pool and I was competing against you, and I'd be gutted if I didn't put 2 minutes on you. I'd run in there next to you and think, there's an old guy next to me. If I'm not out of here 2 minutes before him, I'm gonna kick myself. So the fact that you literally held your own on and just, and some of your times are simply perfectly acceptable. I mean, yeah, we'll get onto it, because goodness me, you round up 170-year-olds and put them into Hyrox, you're going to need, I don't know what, at the end of the day, body bags probably. So
Yeah.
the fact that you walked out of there is pretty incredible. So you signed up for it. Actually, you say you went with 2 friends. Were they the guys in your pictures that you?
Yeah, they were in the 60 to 64 age group. I think the guys are 61, 62.
You look like you should have got sponsored by, I don't know, Saga or something, and looking at your photographs. Anybody that starts moaning about, oh, I've left it too late because I'm 55 or something, needs to give themselves a slap and look at your photographs. Absolutely crushing it. So you get there, and I always ask this question: when you walked in, were you sort of intimidated by all the kind of the fit bodies running around, or were you did you kind of
It was
see
more the kind of the buzz, the atmosphere as soon as we went into the main arena hall. I mean, there's plenty of people milling around, and they all looked fit types. Yeah, and then we sort of made our way up towards the outside of the running section, and saw everyone come by, and I just thought, oh my God, 2.5 hours, that's going to be us guys, and I really began to get a bit nervous about it, but as we got more used to it, I thought, oh God, I just want to start now and get on with it.
Yeah, it's a loud and kind of brash environment to go into, and you should have phoned ahead and had the DJ put on some Beatles for you or something. Bit of I don't know, Petula Clark or something. Would that mean?
Yeah, perhaps. No, I've got no qualms about hearing all the modern music. That's fine, and it does kind of pump up the adrenaline, etc. So no worries there. And I think I said before, later on it actually helped.
Well, they missed an opportunity. If you do another one, I'm gonna make sure they have some I don't know, some Glenn Miller for you or something. That might be a bit before your time. Okay, so you get there, you and your buddies are doing it, and you go into the pen. Were you racing in the same wave as them?
Yeah, I made sure on the entry that we would certainly all start together. I mean, one of the guys is a fairly decent runner. We didn't expect really to see much of him after we started, but we said, look, let's all run the first K together, and we'll just take it from there. And the same guy I'm talking about was really quite worried about the sled push. And when we got to there, it turns out he breezed it. He just got away with it. So he probably finished the sled push about, I don't know, maybe, 30, 40 seconds before us. And he was off. That's the last time I saw him until a bit later on, until the lunges, actually. Initially, we said, we'll just kind of do our own thing because why not? He really could have been probably 10, 15 minutes quicker than me because he would have made that up on the runs. I knew that the runs were going to take me the best part of an hour. And so I was hopefully looking at 2 hours, but of course that wasn't never to be because spent far too long between stations anyway, and the rests that I had to take during the actual the wall balls and especially the lunges, etc. That all added to my overall time considerably.
Yeah, because you did your run total was almost exactly an hour.
Was it? Yeah.
But again, your individual runs. Your first run was a 6:30, then you do a 6:18, then you're doing a 6:40. You're running fairly consistently. It's not as though and I've seen some people's run times where they start off just their pacing is all over the show, and they start off fast, and before they know it, they're 4 runs deep, and they're doing 8 minutes and stuff.
Yeah.
But your runs kind of held it together, and actually running consistently is far more important than running fast if it's going to then come back and bite you.
Well, I was always going to use the runs as a rest, if you know what I mean. So I wasn't going to push myself. I probably could have, if you're out on the, I don't know, doing a 5K somewhere, you want to push yourself, fine. But I knew that, excuse me, I knew that I had a lot of work to do in between those runs. So I was never going to push myself too hard on the runs.
So your first exercise is a ski erg, and you did a 520, which is fine. So and I assume you've used a ski erg probably in your CrossFit training.
Yeah, I used it. Again, I've never really taken too much notice of the time that it would take me to do. I thought around about the 5-minute mark, but I was very conscious. Someone had advised me to not go too mad. Don't let the adrenaline take you away on the first couple of exercises, or the first couple of runs, really. Because the push and pull on the sled is going to do your legs. So I was very conscious to sort of take it a bit easy.
Advice. I've done some. I did a 340 ski on one of my runs, which was all very impressive at the time, and then realised that I couldn't run or walk or anything afterwards. It was all a bit silly. Now I aim to go fairly average actually on the ski, but to be able to run out of there. So you get onto the sled push. The sled push is the one that it's a heavy. I'm trying to phrase this in a way it doesn't sound patronising. It's a heavy weight, and you are not a young chap. I'm kind of imagining. My dad is. What's my dad? My dad's 84, and he is a fit and healthy 84-year-old. In fact, I wouldn't even bet on him, me against him in an arm wrestle. But equally, if I had to shove my dishwasher across my kitchen floor, I'd probably pick me to do it rather than him. And so the typical 70-year-old is not shifting that weight. So you get it, you lean on it, and did it move, and you thought, yeah, I got this immediately? Or
well, you have a little obviously in the kind of practice zone or the warm up zone. I did lean into the sled and think better have a go because. I was actually aware that it's carpet dependent. Some people have said depending on the venue, you better train with a heavier sled. So I tried it on the warm up, and I thought, that's it was a lot harder than I had experienced with the same weight in the gym. So I thought, yeah, okay, that's going to be interesting. And when I got to the real sled push, I did probably 6 or 7 steps, and then thought I need a quick rest here. And I said to myself, this is going to be a long. I've got 4 lengths of this. This is going to be a long day.
But it never crossed your mind that you'd get it done. You just thought, no, I'm just going to take my
There was
time
never
and I will get this
never
done.
any doubt that I wasn't going to finish. Really, I just knew.
Yeah.
Just knew that I'd have to, just chonk it out. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea that way. I mean, I almost feel like GP surgeries should have that sled in the car park, and you kind of pop in for your annual health check at 70, and if you can shove that up and down, they go, yeah, don't bother checking anything else, just go home, keep doing whatever you've been doing for the last 69 years, just keep doing more of that. No, that's incredible. Okay, so you then run off. Your next run's cool. You then get in a sled pull, and your sled pull was 9 minutes 28.
It was horrible.
So it's the first time that jumps out at me as being a long time.
Yeah.
And what always jumps out at me when I see that is, and I've said this so many times, not that you did it slowly, but that you were pulling the bloody sled for 9.5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just
Well, I wasn't actually.
grueling.
I was probably resting for about 6 minutes of that. It's the first time I'd actually pulled a sled. So pulling it actually on the event was the first time I'd done it. And I got a bit of fright, to be honest, because I just thought, oh, wow, this is going to be a long day. And to make it worse, for me anyway, as we came into the sled pool, the other judges were saying, up here. And I got the lane right next to the spectators, and I thought, oh, God, I'm totally exposed to all there. And I thought I was going to get a bit of abuse, really, but of course, it was totally the opposite. All the spectators were on my side.
No, the crowds,
and,
absolutely. The crowds at Hyrox are, they are. They're brilliant. Yeah.
But it was that was the first time I thought, this could be a 2.5 hour journey for me. This.
And that takes you into burpees, which actually you're right on, under 9 minutes. So yeah, your burpee time, not too bad. You find that just kind of plod on and get them done. You just find those okay?
Actually, burpees were before the event. The burpees were my most feared part of it, because I'd been avoiding them like hell on the run up to it. Even doing some sort of private sessions or in CrossFit, occasionally there's burpees involved. Of course there is, but in the kind of training, if you like, I always avoided burpees, because you've never heard anyone say, I love burpees, have you? I mean, it's just not going to happen. So, So I did have a bit of trepidation for sure, but they turned out to be not bad. I took rests. I did 3 or 4, then had a bit of a blow, then got on with the next 3 or 4 and got through it. And I quite surprised myself that, well, the main thing was to still be alive, basically, at the end of the burpees. And because I kind of walked off and started jogging away out for the next lap, was a proper bonus.
Okay, so that jumps you onto the rower machine. You did your road, so 5.5 minutes. I guess you're comfortable on a rower.
A bit slow, really, but I was using that as a rest. I didn't, I was beginning to feel it a bit by then.
The trouble with the row is you sit on it. So the minute you sit down,
I thought, well, at least we got a seat here. But again, if I did it in the gym, it'd be probably 4.5 minutes, but without too much effort. And I was expecting that, but it was a bit longer, so it didn't matter. Yeah.
The row is one that I've got on a few times, thinking because I'm a reasonable rower, I get on it and think I'm going to crank out a good time. But the minute your bum hits the thing, and you sat down, you think, oh, actually,
this is quite nice.
I'll just I'll use this as recovery. It's all part of the plan. Okay, so then farmer's carry.
Farmer's carry was okay. Yeah.
Do you have to stop many times on the farmer's carry?
A couple of times, yeah. Definitely put it down at the end of one length, and then towards the last length, I think I had put it down in the middle. So a couple of times, but more for the kind of grip, to be honest, rather than my back going or my shoulders or whatever. I just didn't have the grip in my hands.
Yeah, it's unless you're lifting heavy weights regularly or doing stuff like obstacle course racing where you're hanging your whole body weight on your arms. The grip strength is a tough one. And then into lunges. So you go into lunges. You ran into lunges at 1.5 hours. So you're already out there at the limit for an hour and a half, and you then got to do lunges.
Yeah, I kind of I hit the wall actually during my lunges. I can look back on it now, and I know I was dehydrated, and I know I hadn't taken any fuel on any gels or anything. When I carried
Right.
I carried two of them round the course. They had a nice little day out, but I never used them. And I wished, that was a complete mistake. I should have followed the guidance and had something
Well,
after an hour or so.
yeah, because it's an interesting one because a lot of people will tell you if you ask about gels and stuff, they'll say, "Oh, you don't need them, you don't need them," and then they'll go and run they'll go and run a 1 hour 5 or something.
Yeah,
If you're out there for a couple of hours, you do need something.
yeah. There was a complete boob on my behalf there. I should have, and I didn't drink enough either. I had a little sip here and there. And I now looking back on it, I know that was one of the main issues, that I was so tired during the lunges. I really had to take a lot of breaks. My knee hit the ground, and I just kind of stayed there a few times just for 30, 40 seconds.
And then you have to do a single leg squat to get back up again.
Exactly, with a bloody sandbag on your 20K on your back, and it's.
I saw your photograph that you had of the lunges where you're doing your lunge, and one of the girls that's doing the double girls. I'm going to get cancelled for saying girls, aren't I? Females, ladies. The one that's resting while her partner's lunging is kind of cheering you on, which is just an awesome photograph, and it just sums up the whole of Hyrox.
It is. It does. It sums up the whole atmosphere of the place and the support. And to my shame, I can't particularly remember that. There was so much noise and stuff going on, and certainly I was in a little bit of sort of distress, I suppose. Then a couple of times during the whole lunge department, I felt I felt I was going to conk out a couple of times, really. But again, I think I put that down to lack of fluid.
Yeah, that photograph, I'll probably stick that up on my Instagram or something. I mean, that Hyrox should be using that photograph for their marketing. I mean,
it is a cracker, isn't it? Yeah, I mean,
it just has everything. You've got the kind of those girls who are clearly good athletes. You've got yourself at the other end of the age spectrum, side by side.
There was a load of them kind of speeding by me and she took the time out, and I thought that was class.
And then you go to wall balls, and the wall balls was, and this is no surprise for most people, the wall balls was your longest station. I guess you broke it down into manageable chunks.
Yeah, a lot more rests. I did have the intention of maybe trying to do 20 or 25, but I got to 10 and I thought, stop it, just forget the ego side of it. I needed a rest. My body was telling me to stop and have a bit of a breather. And so that's what I did. So I managed it in 10 separate hits of 10.
Actually, out of interest, it just occurs to me, you have no knee problems or any kind of joint problems? I mean, the sort of things that would be not uncommon for someone.
I've been dead lucky there, really. I mean, I've had lower back issues for the past 20 years and all that kind of stuff, but I've managed to get away with the knees so far. I
mean, because it's brutal. Those wall balls, you're 2 hours deep into the event, your body's fatigued, and you're now having to do a deep squat with a weight.
Yeah.
I'd say this about my age, 50, 70. If you picked a 70-year-old machine, it would be in a museum. If you had a 70-year-old car or something, the human body is pretty incredible that it can do what it does.
Well, I thought that exactly the same thing, during the kind of, the recent heart blip. And I thought, this thing's been going like the clappers for 70 years now. It's some pump.
It's incredible. It really is. Yeah. I mean, because as you say, if you found, you go to, the fanciest fish pond you like, it's not having a 70-year-old pump running
Absolutely not. No. And if it had to, you'd change it in a minute, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, it's incredible. You have 70-year-old joints that are just cranking out wall balls. I mean, I love it. That's awesome. So, and you crossed the line. Actually, I say you crossed the line. You actually finished and waited for your buddies, didn't you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I actually,
which I love. I mean, people need to bear that in mind. You did not finish and run straight across the line.
No, there was.
You waited for your mates.
I didn't even have to think about that actually. But I expected, the one fella, Gary, to be finished a good few minutes before us, certainly. But as I got into the lunges, I could see him coming down the second straight, and he was struggling a bit, And sure enough, sort of 6 or 7 minutes later, I was that man, and so I felt his pain. But anyway, we ended up in the wall balls. I think I was slightly last into the wall balls, but for some reason, I managed to finish them first out of the three of us. And I said to their judges, "How long to go?" And he went, "Oh, he's got 20, and the other fellow had about 11." So we're just kind of cheering them on, and the first guy stopped, and we both waited for the last of the three of us, and got a kind of collective big cheer from the kind of crowd, and off we went across the line together, hand in hand. It was a really special moment, that was.
No, yeah, no man left behind. Yeah, no, that and again, it's another of your photographs that just sums up the event. I mean, you're obviously all individually running a race, but equally, there's sometimes more important things than the clock.
Well, I didn't. Neither of us gave it any thought. We were all there. We were all together doing the last exercise of the whole event. And why would you not all cross together? It wasn't worth the extra, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes for me. It didn't make a slightest bit of difference at that end of the day.
Yeah, no, it's a great photograph. Okay, so you did it. You did 2 hours 16. Are you doing another one? And interestingly, given what we said about targets and just enjoying the training, if you are doing another one, do you want to go faster?
I suppose the answer is yes. I'd like to go faster, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if I didn't. I would like to do another one. We're already talking about Birmingham, but we'd quite like to try the doubles. Just for a bit of a crack, really, and because we all took so much rest during our singles, we thought, well, we can put that into the event itself by getting a bit of a rest during the doubles. So
absolutely, and the doubles is in fact, I'm in Birmingham with Jen, my wife. We're doing the doubles, and it is. I've done 3 singles and 2 doubles, and the doubles for me is just by far the more enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think we're just about to get that sorted out. Having said that, I'd quite like to do. I don't see any reason for me not having a bash at another singles.
What I like the idea of doing, and this kind of flies in the face of 90% of what we've been saying this conversation, but I love the idea that at 70, you can go back and do it again, and even though it's not the be all and the end all, whether you beat your time, there would still be a little bit of you that does have in mind go faster. I love the idea that at 70 you can go and do something quicker.
Yeah, I think going through the individual exercises there just now, I find that I could improve on the sled pull. If I get a successful cardio version, I think that I probably wouldn't need to rest as much. I would certainly get my nutrition and drinking sorted out during the race, and so I'd be a lot more prepared for it. And I'd be surprised if I couldn't go faster.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, again, if you didn't, you didn't, and it's not, and you wouldn't be expected to. But equally, if you did, it would just be very cool that you're never too late to make improvements.
Definitely, and if we can't get the double sorted out in Birmingham, some of the other lads aren't interested, I may just go solo, and I guess I'll be 71 by then, so that'd be a laugh.
I want to have you back on when you're 71 and you have a faster time than your 70 time. Yeah, the next time anybody moans about they left it too late to get in shape, unless they are also 71, they can get a grip and listen to this. Yeah, superb. Stuart, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I can't wait to talk again when you've gone back, whether it's doubles or singles. It'll be a lot of fun to hear how you get on next time round. In the meantime, obviously, you need to go and find your doctor to give him you need to go and ask him to give you a slap on the back of the head or whatever he does to restart your dodgy TV.
I chased it up. I chased it up recently, actually, and it looks like hopefully it'll be in April sometime. So, looking forward to getting back as fit as or as healthy as I can be, and just take it from there. But of course, you don't know what's around the corner. I still feel very lucky to be able to enjoy what I'm doing.
Yes, although as they say, you make your own luck. You obviously put in the time, and it's paying dividends now.
Yes, it's been a decent journey, and I on kind of reflection, you just I certainly do feel lucky that I've managed to manage to still be here and enjoy what's going on.
Superb, excellent, Stuart. A pleasure talking, and we'll speak again soon.
You too, Mark. Thanks very much for the opportunity. Enjoyed it.